All right, good evening everyone. Let's get started with the market update video again. Let's just discuss what happened in the market today, as we had discussed yesterday. How did the stuff play out, and what really happened? Right. So as usual, we'll start with Nifty. Let's start with Nifty IT. So Nifty IT, the view I had shared was not to trade longs until it breaks this supply, right? Until it takes out this supply comfortably, you don't try to take longs because it's moving in the same pattern. If you see again and again, there's a lot of supply here. Even though these supplies are weak, why are they weak? Because see, it's everything is getting taken out very easily, right? And the demands are holding actually. The bias is on the upside, but I'd not prefer taking longs in Nifty IT unless it takes out this supply and forms a base around here. Today, what happened? It retraced back to that 50 period moving average on the hourly chart. This is the hourly moving average. It's been to the hourly time frame, right? And this is usually a very nice value area for for me to look for continuation moves. So if you see, all the biggest moves which happen in the stock are coming from this area itself, right? Around this area, if you see. So that is how Nifty IT played out today in the final moments. If you see, all IT stocks basically started moving up. I had traded one of them, which was HCL Technologies, because it was reacting from this value area. So I did not trade all of this because it was very far from the value area. You see, there was a nice trade here in the morning itself, right? You could have got in with longs with your stops below these demand zones, because this was a nice, pretty nice base, which was inside a nice bullish structure itself, right? And now it's trying to break out from this area of value where the chances of a mean retracement is very less, mean reversion or whatever you want to call it. So this was a nice long again. TCS, if you see, it's constantly running up. I don't think I would chase it this far, right? LTI, if you see, it's also very far from that area, right? Tata Elxsi was one stock which was near to that area, and it was forming a nice little base right here. So this was a, you could have taken longs in this base again with a stop below this low or maybe this low as well. Right, you see this shakeout right here, the test, and the stock is bullish yet again. Wipro is another one. It gave an entry. See, Wipro, the view was already bullish, right? If it takes out these supplies, once it took out the supply, the move started very nicely from these little rounding bottoms. Naukri, if you see, it's very far from that moving average, so I'll avoid Naukri as well. And HCL Tech was the one which I traded. My target was actually till this supply, but it did not really go that much. So my entry was at this demand zone. The entry is also late. I should have entered here itself, right? So the entry was also late, but this was a nice little one is to two. It gave pretty nicely, pretty easily actually. So this was the one which I traded. You can watch it for tomorrow as well. All the other stocks, they've run up a lot or they're not at proper demand zones. So I mean, there's a lot of space below them. So you can watch HCL Tech for tomorrow. If it doesn't gap and shoot up, you can watch it for tomorrow for a long trade. You can use these demand zones to take longs. Basically, you can use this cluster of demand to take a long on the upside in HCL Tech. Another stock which is setting up for a long is TechM. So see, it's still consolidating around this supply. If I show you the hourly chart, you see, look at this build up. So there's some supply around this area, right? It can, of course, it can turn down on the downside as well. But seeing the buying in the sector, I would I'm seeing these bottoms. So if you see, the stock constantly tried to go down today, right? There was a distribution day yesterday as well, and it was constantly trying to go down today, but suddenly the buying came in from these demand zones and it shot up, right? So the bias, and you can look at this around the VWAP as well. So the bias is kind of bullish in TechM, right? But you want to take longs around this demand zones. So the stocks to take longs in IT is HCL Tech and Tech Mahindra. These are the two stocks which you want to uh, which you want to look out for a long trade, right? Give me just a minute. All right, so these are the yeah. So these are the IT stocks which you want to look out for a long trade tomorrow. That's the IT index. Other than that, IT is trying to move up. It might dip down tomorrow, where you will get your stocks at the demand zones. There's a nice base breakout. These demand zones are definitely tradable on the upside in the IT index, right? Now Nifty FMCG again, it's just running up like anything. So now I'll avoid it now, right? Run up a lot for me. time to give some kind of a deep pullback, right? Maybe a shakeout day or kind of a structure it can form. I'm not really sure which FMCG stocks moved up today. Yeah, fuel, right? Still going up. Look at this huge breakout after this 2 year long consolidation, right? 1 year. More than that, because previously also it was at these levels. That's a nice breakout in HUL after not moving anywhere for 2 years, but now I think it's gone up too far. So this one you can ignore. Now reality index, if you see now it's formed a reference range. I am not pretty. I'm not sure about this distance right here. If I want to take longs or not. But since today it looks really good, right? Even though there's some supply here where it rejected in the afternoon, but tomorrow if you see the reference range for this index, this area, right? So if it comes down to this demand zone tomorrow, so what can happen is there can be a fake out and it can come down to trade these areas. These areas are very inefficient, not traded properly, just one swing here. So it can come down, it can do something like this, and then you can take it on the long side. So this is the view on Nifty Reality. And if I check out similar stocks in Nifty Reality, you see DLF moved up in the afternoon. So if it has to come back to the range, it will do something like this, and the index will also come back into this area, right? So that will be a nice little thing for both these counters. Godrej properties as well, if you see it's consolidating, this is the demand zone which you want to trade. All this is just getting ready for a trap in the morning and then in an up move, right? So this is the Nifty Reality structure. And overall reality, if you see it's pulling back now, it's a better long around these demand zones. This is the last base which led to the final up move. But tomorrow let's see if it gives a long trade or not. So Nifty Reality, the bias is on the long side, but you want to wait for a liquidity trap in the morning itself, like a nice little spike in the morning. So Pharma, the view was that if it dips down into this demand zone, you take for a long trade, but actually it just gapped up and moved up, right? Now what is going on in the Pharma stocks is, if you see this reference range right here, this, if I draw the range, it's something like this. And this has been traded properly. If you see, it has traded properly, and now it's trying to break out. So you can expect this demand zone to hold, which in turn made the last swing, right? You can expect it to hold, and you can expect some up move from the pharma stocks. Try to take pharma stocks which have not yet moved a lot. If you see stocks like Cipla, they have already spiked up, right? Look at where it spiked up from. Look at this. Look at this. So these stocks have already spiked up. Oro Pharma also has moved a lot, right? Yesterday I discussed to take longs in the pharma sector. I think I discussed APL Limited as well. Glenmark was also discussed. There was a nice long trade around these demand zones. Not really moved today, but it should move tomorrow. Biocon also, look at all these positive closes. These are very uh, encouraging for another long trade, and it's not even moved yet. It has not even moved yet. If you see, it's just breaking out of this base and this demand zone. You need to keep an eye out for tomorrow. Cadila also, it's looking nice. If you see, it's not a distribution day. Why? Because if you see, the top is here and stock has created multiple bottoms as well. So if you see, the ease of movement is actually on the upside. If you see the move in the morning and look at this move, look at the volume expansion, right? And then the down move doesn't really go anywhere. It just consolidates and a lot of volume comes in. So this looks more like an accumulation day above this high, right? Above this high, it looks more like an accumulation day. So tomorrow, maybe it does this, but I am expecting a breakout in the morning itself. So anyway, the move is on the upside on Cadila as well. Lupin has run up a lot, so there is a chance of retracement back to this zone. So you can avoid Lupin as of now. Right? It has run up from 970 to approximately 3%, right? 2.5%. So Sun Pharma, yeah, so if you see Sun Pharma, you watch out for this demand zone right here. It basically, this is a demand zone above which everything, all the range bound action is being done. This is not the demand zone at which the range is being formed, because if you see, these are supply signatures right here, right? So you want something like this, which will be in the value area as well, and then you want to take it on the upside to tap into these highs, right? Because the bias is still bullish, and Sun Pharma is one of the strongest pharma names right now. It did not really correct a lot during that period. Divi's Lab has moved a lot of space on the downside, avoid it. Torrent Pharma has also moved a lot. That is why it did not really move today, and it has formed some kind of a top structure. So maybe it consolidates here tomorrow the entire day. Lalpath has also moved a lot, so you can avoid it as well, right? So you can keep on watch Glenmark, Biocon, Cadila. You can keep these stocks on watch, and even Sun Pharma for a long trade in the pharma sector. That's Nifty Pharma. Let's come to Nifty Finance. I'll still avoid it, let it go wherever it wants. I'm not chasing any move here. I can get a lot of better opportunities, which we'll discuss in Nifty Metal, in high beta, so I'll just ignore it, honestly. This was an area which we caught the bottom, right? This is the area where we caught the bottom. I think this is enough of a move to chase, right? We chased Bajaj Finance all the way to the top, and Bajaj Finserv as well. So we will let it. So yeah, interesting development in the metal sector. I told you that the bias was on the long side. If it breaks out and it comes back, you can take a long, or if it dips into this demand, you can take a long. But what happened is it just stayed sideways, and now it's completing the base actually. So I'll just remove this, right? I'll just remove all of this, and now if you see, the metals have completed a nice little base here. So now the view was that this is a liquidity spike, and that is how it turned out to be. And now you can expect a nice little up move tomorrow in the metal stocks, and a lot of metal stocks are setting up pretty nicely, which I will discuss. Hindalco, avoid it, just floating down to these demand zones. This is the demand zone to watch for Hindalco, right? It's very clean. Look at this and look at this. This is very clean, so definitely price will react. Right? May not break this supply when it forms a supply, but price will react. Now, sale, the view was to short here. A nice short played out till the demand zone, but then accumulation happened, and you could have exited. But now, if you see sale, this dip was very shallow, right? It did not really go that deep with wide range candles. And if you look at these volumes which are trying to take stock on the upside with wide range candles, they are very high, right? So sale is now getting into an accumulation structure, and if I hide the EMA, you can just see that this area is accumulation. Tomorrow, anything of this sort can be traded on the upside in sale, and I will try to trade only metal stocks tomorrow because a lot of them are setting up for an up move. If you see, nicely setting up here as well, if you see, but this one I'll avoid because it's still not above the EMA, so these supplies are very active still. So probably it does this and then another day, and then maybe it moves up. This one you can avoid. Tata Steel, look at it looks very nice. There is room for the move till here. This is a nice accumulation at the day end, so you can take Tata Steel. National Aluminium also, it looks nice, but wait for it to sustain above this range right here, and then take your long trade. Don't jump in immediately, and be aware of this supply. JSW Steel, avoid it. The supply is still very strong here, couldn't really sustain here. Jindal Steel moved nicely, but very far from the VWAP. The move is done, so the supply is still strong. Vedanta, as we had discussed, it moved up. Tomorrow, if it dips down to these areas, you can again try to take a long on the upside in Vedanta. Right, so the metal stocks are kind of setting up pretty nicely, right? You can check Vedanta, Tata Steel, NMDC, and Hindalco, right? Or sorry, SAIL, NMDC, Tata Steel, and Vedanta for a long trade in the metal sector. Bank Nifty, this supply is very active, so don't forget about this. Maybe you can see something like this. It goes up, and then it comes back down to trade this range again, right? Because it's quite far. Yeah, if you see Nifty Energy also, I told you to avoid this. We caught the bottom right here, so I don't think you need to chase so far up. Now let's come to Nifty Media. Nifty Media, the view was shared to be bullish, to longs to be taken around these demands. And then look at this. Look at this final spike in the afternoon, right? So if I pull up some media stocks, yeah, so this wasn't, I did not trade this one because it dipped all the way down, and this now looks like a distribution base, even though it's not, because this, until this low is broken, my bias in the stock is bullish. But look at this move in the last minute, kind of a structure, right? PVR also another accumulation day. Longs could have been taken around this demand zone, right? Around this demand zone you could have taken longs. Tomorrow it's the same view. Sun TV as well, if you see, this is the demand zone which you had to trade. Now it gave a move up in the morning, right? It immediately moved up and started to top out, so you could have avoided this, or you could, or even if you took some long here, you could have exited here, right? So media sector, even though the sector is bullish, the stocks haven't moved yet. So these bases, I expect them to be resolved on the upside, and you definitely have to try to keep taking longs in this sector. At any opportunity you get, you need to get in. All right, auto stocks, now if you see, they're pulling back, right? This was a nice little dip in the morning into this demand zone. This was definitely tradable because this is the breakout zone right here. This was tradable on the upside. It went up. Tomorrow again you can trade this on the upside. So auto is still bullish, not very far. The up move is still left, so we can check auto stocks out. PSU banks avoided again very far, kind of topping out as well. The view was to take a dip into this demand zone, but it immediately made a new high and started to top out. So now this supply is very strong, right? So because it took out this low as well, it can be a liquidity trap because there is not much movement below it. So it can just do something like this, but honestly, I'll wait for further move in the sector. So the sectors to watch out for is Nifty Media, Nifty Pharma, Realty, IT, right, and also metals for sure. All right. So if the videos are helping you, kindly make sure that you're liking the videos actually, because the likes need to be up, which tells me that people are actually liking the videos. So make sure to help the channel grow as well. Share the videos with in any Telegram group or whatever group or server, Discord server, or any of that stuff which you are in. You can share the video so that it helps people and also helps the channel grow. That's it from my side, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a profitable day. Good night.